If I can drill down on the individual level,
Hmm.
again, the way I'm thinking about this is mostly, as you can maybe guess, is driven by cultural media portrayals. So the way I'm thinking about this is, after like rampant drug use, or maybe when a person is addicted to a substance, maybe. What I kind of imagine is like, if he has a family, the family breaks down, relationships break down, person is not available, moody, all trouble focusing per se, financial issues, spending a lot of money and time on just getting access to these drugs. How much of this is like, is this like a, if not majority, but at least I don't know, like a decent amount or significant amount of the, is this a scenario which a lot of people do actually face, or is this like a, again, a caricature of what really happens and the truth is much far from?
Well, I think it's fairly accurate. I mean, what happens essentially is that once a person starts using it, and that sort of becomes the focus of their life in maintaining their sort of use patterns over long periods of time, if they have a substance use disorder, I wouldn't say necessarily that what happens is that their social life changes. And it changes in some degree the way you're talking about, right? There are going to be family issues, there are going to be all kinds of problems, but they also become part of other social networks, right? So they become more close to other people who are using drugs. And so it's not like they become social isolates, which is portrayed in lots of movies. Like they're sitting in a home alone in their room. That's not what's happening. They are interacting, but they are just interacting in a whole new social environment. They have new friends, quote unquote friends, are people who are using, and they support each other. I mean, not in necessarily a positive way, right? But they support each other getting drugs and dealing with the system. And so, in some ways, yes, that portrayal is accurate, but in other ways, it's not because they are actually forming social bonds. It's just with other people who are using.
Earlier, you also mentioned how most of these stories don't have a good ending, like how most of these, like, as opposed to media portrayals. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that, in the sense, like, what do you mean when you say most of these stories are like really bad, and like they do not have like a, that character arc where, one day you use a lot, you bottom out, then there is a change that happens, and then you go on to lead this amazing new life with like a hot girlfriend and maybe, I don't know.
Right, right. Well, I think that we have to remember so the story arc is that you sort of, everybody disowns you and you sort of pull yourself up and go to sort of drug treatment and sort of work it all out. And part of the challenge there is that, we're dealing with people who might have multiple problems. They might be depressed, they might have anxiety disorder, they might have all, and they have, on top of that, they have substance use disorder. And so that's that. So there are challenges in sort of dealing with that. But, a lot of times I think that they lose their social support system. And that makes it very hard to sort of be successful, right? So they have a new set of friends, and those friends don't support them going to treatment necessarily. And so I think it's a challenge for people that way, is that they have to sort of do it on their own, and they don't have a lot of resources, right? They've just spent all the, one of the things that you can tell when I do interviews with people, I go to their homes, is that a lot of times they don't have anything in their house. Their house might have a couch and a chair. And that's because they've literally pawned everything in their house. They've either sold it or pawned it or traded it for money or drugs or whatever. And so that's kind of like what their life is that they don't have a lot of resources. And now you're asking them to go into treatment and do all these things and go to work, and it's a very, I think, challenging set of to do items. Yeah.
When you mentioned that, when you go to their houses, it's generally, it's, I don't know, a couch or a chair or something,
Yeah.
because they've pawned everything else.
Yeah.
I don't like, I find that really weird, in the sense, like, I cannot think of another example or another emotion. Like I was trying to think of a scenario where somebody is so madly in love with this girl or with this guy that in order to take them to dates and to keep them happy or buy them presents, they start pawning off.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have never heard of that incident, nor
Yeah.
like in any other context where I've heard of people either for education, people are pawning off stuff and they've sold everything for education or for
Right.
health. I have not heard a single case of that happening, but in terms of like drugs, it just seems like people are willing to do anything to get that. And it seems really,
Yeah.
really
I mean,
crazy.
I mean, it's really true. It becomes, that's how I talk about it, as really becoming your world. I mean, they call it the life when you're in this situation. They call it the life, and this is the life. Is the first and the last thing you think about are the drugs. So you have to. It's not a. This is why choice, I think, is a complicated term here, because they don't feel like they have a choice. They have to meet the requirements. That's just what they have to do. Just like you have to go to work in the morning, or you have to take out the trash, or you have to do these things.